The new Prime Minister of Great Britain, about to be sworn in, is a former journalist long dismissed as a clown, unserious, a liar. Yet for all that, Boris Johnson is a Conservative who nevertheless managed to become Lord Mayor of left-wing London and is now Prime Minister by a vote of Conservative Party members, overwhelming win. To do that takes intelligence and charm. But his victory speech, well, he still couldn't help but seem unserious, and the Conservative MPs there didn't seem that impressed.
And we know the mantra of the campaign that has just gone by. In case you've forgotten it, you probably have. It's always a couple of, it is deliver Brexit, unite the country and defeat Jeremy Corbyn. And that is what we're going to do. And I know some wag has already pointed out that deliver, unite and defeat was not the perfect acronym for an election campaign, since unfortunately it spells dud. But they forgot the final E, my friends, E for energise. And I say to all the doubters, dude, we are going to energise the country. We're going to get Brexit done on October the 31st.
Well, at least President Donald Trump was excited. He saw a fellow spirit.
Really good man is going to be the Prime Minister of the UK now, Boris Johnson. Good man. He's tough and he's smart. They're saying Britain Trump. They call him Britain Trump, and people are saying that's a good thing. That they like me over there. That's what they wanted. That's what they need. That's what they need. He'll get it done. Boris is good. He's going to do a good job.
Joining me from London a short while ago was the brilliant Brendan O'Neill, columnist and editor of Spiked. Brendan O'Neill, thank you so much for your time. Is Donald Trump right? Is Boris Johnson the British Trump?
I'm not sure that's really particularly accurate. I think actually Boris Johnson and Donald Trump are very different people. It's convenient for the left to lump them together, to present them as this kind of, fascist duo double act, as the left likes to depict them. But I think that's incredibly inaccurate. I think there are great differences between Trump and Boris. Boris is far better educated, if I may say. He is more liberal. He has very liberal positions on numerous issues, which everyone always forgets. He wanted an amnesty for illegal immigrants in the UK, which is not something that that Trump would be particularly fond of. He's pro-freedom of speech. There are big differences between these two people. I think the attempt to lump them together is very interesting, because I think it's really about trying to delegitimize Boris Johnson through linking him with Donald Trump.
Well, I see that delegitimisation going on very pronounced, in a very pronounced way in the papers, the British papers today. As a clown, as a liar, as a this and as a that. Is he what the critics claim in that regard?
I don't think he is. I say this as someone who has a number of criticisms of Boris Johnson, particularly, in fact, in relation to Brexit. I'm not 100% convinced that he is going to stick to his Brexit programme. I think that's why he's popular. That's why he's getting a lot of support, because people want Brexit to happen, and he says he will make it happen. I'm not entirely convinced, but I have to separate my concerns from what we might call Boris derangement syndrome. It's extraordinary. The chattering classes in this country and the media classes are in the grip of Boris derangement syndrome. The way they talk about him is just completely hysterical, as if hell has descended on the United Kingdom, as if we've gone back to the 1930s, as if he is kind of Hitler with blonde hair. I mean, they really do speak in that kind of language, and it suggests that they have completely and utterly lost the plot. And of course, what is lurking behind their Boris derangement syndrome is really Brexit derangement syndrome. The thing they really despise about Boris is that he has promised to deliver the thing that they hate most, and the thing that they have devoted 3 years of their lives to trying to thwart and overthrow, which is the vote for Brexit. So Boris has propelled the kind of PC elites into this extraordinary meltdown.
Yeah, and I suspect they may do for him what in America they've done for Trump, and that is unite a base around a person that otherwise might not command quite the loyalty that he would hope. You spoke of the Brexit, pulling Britain out of Europe. He said he'll do that by the end of October. I don't know that the maths has changed by his elevation. I don't know that he can get any deal out of through Parliament or whatever. I suspect, and tell me if I'm wrong, that his best hope might lie in calling an early election and getting a thumping mandate, he would hope, that otherwise he won't have and won't succeed without.
I think that's absolutely right. I think it is incumbent upon Boris Johnson to call a general election sooner rather than later. Firstly, because it would give him legitimacy as Prime Minister. It's never a great look when someone becomes Prime Minister without having gone to the public. So he should rectify that as soon as he can. And, as you say, it would give him the kind of mandate from the public that he would need to do battle not simply with Brussels, but with Britain's own political class. I mean, we have this extraordinary situation in this country where the public wants one thing, the majority of the public wants Brexit, and the majority of the political class wants something completely different, which is to stay in the European Union. 52% of British people voted to leave the EU, but more than 70% of members of Parliament voted to stay, and 95% of Labour MPs voted to stay, which is, I think, the most extraordinary statistic of modern times. And what that really tells us is that the political class is completely and utterly cut off from public sentiment, and that's why they have done everything within their power to thwart Brexit. And so you're right, in Parliament, Boris Johnson will not have the numbers to push through no deal, which increasingly looks like the only version of Brexit that's left. And therefore, I think if he goes to the public and says, look, I'm standing on a platform of just walking away from the EU, and if he wins support on that basis, it will give him a very strong footing against the anti-democratic political elite.
Yeah, and it'll also give another point of comparison with Donald Trump. It will be a kind of drain the swamp moment. But apart from Brexit, it seems to me this huge thing, Brexit, so many people don't even understand anyway. It's overshadowing the fact that, in the meantime, he's got to govern Britain. What kind of plan does he really have? I mean, he's sold to many as, the dream conservative, the heir of Churchill. He wrote a fantastic biography of Churchill. But as you say, sometimes I'm not quite sure that he is that conservative that makes hearts go pitter-patter.
Yes, I mean, it's understandable that at the moment all he's talking about is Brexit, because all that the country is talking about is Brexit. And so many different plans for the future of the UK itself, whether we have more nationalisation, whether we have more liberalisation, all those questions, fundamental questions relating to the political nature of the UK are bound up with what happens to Brexit first. So it's kind of understandable that would be his focus. But a lot of people are asking the question that you have asked, which is, well, what is his broader plan? What does he want to do in the future? What is his outlook? What is his political view? And that can be sometimes difficult to work out. And that's one of the issues I have with Boris. I think a serious problem with Boris Johnson is that he suffers a little bit from political cowardice. And if he feels under extreme pressure, particularly from influential sections of the media and so on, he does buckle sometimes. He does give up on positions he previously held. He used to be a very smart climate change skeptic. He used to be one of those people who didn't deny climate change, but asked questions about the politics of environmentalism, and he stopped doing that and has now become a fully paid-up Green, effectively. So there are things that he chops and changes, which just makes me wonder how committed he is to his alleged view of the world. But in the round, he's more liberal and open-minded than certainly Jeremy Corbyn, and he claims to be devoted to making Brexit happen. And for a great number of people in the UK, at the moment, that's just about enough.
But you go there, Brendan, to one criticism that I keep hearing, that he's got no political bottom, as it were, that he perhaps likes to be liked a little too much to maintain a particular position. And I'm just, I noticed even that how desperate, a little anxious he seemed to get in his victory speech. I played a little bit of it before, trying to whip up the crowd into a reaction that he wasn't getting. They didn't seem very enthusiastic, and then trying to crack some lame jokes at the end. what sort of character is he bringing to being Prime Minister of that great nation of Great Britain?
I think that's the million-dollar question. I mean, he has a number of character flaws. He is, as you say, he's desperate to be liked. He's desperate to be popular. He has this real sense that it's his destiny to be Prime Minister, and he's thought that for quite a long time. But, you know, in a democracy, that's really not enough. You need to convince the people. You need to win the public to your point of view. You can't just have this kind of hereditary view of yourself as being destined to go to number 10. So he really needs to shake out of that mindset. And he needs to shake out of the Churchill mindset, because that is him also believing in the kind of the destiny of history, as if he is the heir to all these great Britons who went before. And that doesn't cut it with normal people. What normal people want to know is, where does he stand on the big issues of our time? Where does he stand on Brexit, of course? And is he going to stick with his principles? Those are the questions people are asking. I think what he forgets, when he's so desperate to be liked, he forgets that people actually want politicians who are not so spun and who are not so cardboard and who do not just spout all the kind of politically correct lines. So, for example, when he criticises the niqab and says that women who wear the niqab look like bank robbers and it's an oppressive garment and it's a ridiculous garment. I mean, he might get a huge amount of flack from the media class for that, but ordinary people like a politician who shoots from the hip and likes a politician who says things that you're not supposed to say but which lots of people agree with. So if he sticks with that kind of Boris, which is the outspoken Boris, he could do far better.
Except he's got a party to try to, you know, unite. So we shall see. Look, I think this is fascinating. It's hard to believe, you know, to think of any politicians that have been more closely studied over so many years and yet have so many question marks over what they're really planning to do. I think it's just fascinating. Brendan O'Neill, thank you so much indeed for your time.